Absolutely. Here's a story crafted to evoke those nostalgic feelings. Set in New York City during the 80s-90s, and centered around a budding romance, old-school McDonald's, and simpler times. Hey everyone. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoy this trip down memory lane, please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories from a time when life felt a little slower, a little kinder, and the Big Apple felt a whole lot bigger. The year is 1988. The air in Greenwich Village crackled with a raw energy that only New York City could generate. Graffiti art exploded from subway tunnels, music blared from boomboxes on street corners, and the scent of hot dogs and simmering dreams hung thick in the air. For Sarah, a recent art school graduate, with a heart full of hope and a portfolio bursting with ambition, it was home. She lived in a tiny, rent-controlled apartment above a vintage record store on Bleecker Street. Her days were spent painting in her cramped studio, nights were for exploring the city's vibrant nightlife, and weekends were dedicated to scouring flea markets for inspiration. One sweltering summer afternoon, escaping the midday heat, Sarah found herself drawn to the familiar golden arches of McDonald's on 6th Avenue. Not just any McDonald's. This was a classic, the kind they don't really make anymore. The aroma of frying potatoes and sizzling patties, the bright red booths, the friendly faces behind the counter, it was a comforting oasis in the urban jungle. She ordered a Big Mac, a large fries, and a vanilla milkshake. Settling into a booth by the window, she watched the city stream by. Yellow cabs, delivery trucks, business people in power suits, and street performers, a symphony of urban life played out before her eyes. That's when she saw him. He was standing in line, his back to her, but something about his posture, his lean frame, and the way his dark hair curled at the nape of his neck caught her attention. He was wearing a faded denim jacket and jeans, a simple white t-shirt, and scuffed-up Converse sneakers. He looked like he'd just stepped out of a Bruce Springsteen music video. When he turned to pay, Sarah's heart skipped a beat. He had the kind of face that could launch 1,000 sonnets, strong jawline, kind eyes that crinkled at the corners, and a smile that seemed to hold a universe of stories. He ordered a quarter-pounder with cheese, a small fries, and a Coke. As he waited for his order, his eyes met Sarah's. He smiled, a genuine, disarming smile that made her blush. "Hey," he said, his voice a low rumble that sent shivers down her spine. "Great choice on the milkshake. They don't make M like this anymore, huh?" Sarah laughed, relieved that she didn't sound like a complete idiot. "You said it. It's the perfect escape from this heat." "I'm Daniel," he said, extending his hand. "And you are?" "Sarah," she replied, shaking his hand. His touch was warm and firm, and she felt an instant connection. They talked for what felt like minutes, but turned into almost an hour. They spoke about their dreams, their fears, their favorite movies, and their shared love of New York City. Sarah learned that Daniel was a musician, struggling to make it in the city's competitive music scene. He played guitar in a band called the City Sirens, and they were playing gigs in dive bars and clubs all over the city. Before they knew it, Daniel's order was ready. "Well, it was great talking to you, Sarah," he said, his eyes lingering on hers. "Maybe I'll see you around." "Maybe," Sarah replied, trying to sound nonchalant, even though her heart was pounding. As Daniel walked away, Sarah couldn't help but feel like she'd just experienced something special. Chapter 2, Graffiti and Guitar Riffs. Sarah couldn't shake Daniel from her mind. She found herself thinking about him constantly, replaying their conversation in her head, and wondering if she would ever see him again. A few days later, while walking through Washington Square Park, she heard a familiar sound, the unmistakable twang of an electric guitar. Drawn to the music, she followed the sound until she came to a group of musicians playing near the fountain. And there he was. Daniel, standing in the middle of the group, his guitar strapped to his chest, his fingers dancing across the frets. He was singing, his voice raw and passionate, his eyes closed as he poured his heart and soul into the music. Sarah stood there, mesmerized, as she listened to Daniel and his band play. Their music was a mix of rock and blues, with a touch of punk rock rebellion. It was the sound of the city, the sound of struggle, the sound of hope. When they finished their set, Sarah approached Daniel, her heart pounding in her chest. "That was amazing," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Daniel's face lit up when he saw her. "Sarah, what are you doing here?" "I heard the music and had to check it out," she said. "You guys are really good." "Thanks," Daniel said, blushing slightly. "We're playing a gig tonight at CBGB's. You should come." CBGB's, the legendary punk rock club. Sarah had heard stories about it, but she'd never been. "I don't know," she said hesitantly. "I'm not really a punk rock kind of girl." "Come on," Daniel said, grabbing her hand. "It'll be fun. And it's CBGB's. You can't say you've experienced New York City until you've been to CBGB's." Sarah couldn't resist his charm. "Okay," she said. "I'll go." That night, Sarah found herself standing in the dimly lit, graffiti-covered confines of CBGB's. The air was thick with cigarette smoke, the music was deafening, and the crowd was a mix of punks, artists, and curious onlookers. She spotted Daniel on stage, tuning his guitar. He looked up and saw her, a smile spreading across his face. He gave her a nod, and Sarah felt a thrill course through her. The city sirens took the stage and launched into their set. Their music was even more electrifying live than it was in the park. Daniel's guitar riffs were blistering, the drummer's beats were relentless, and the lead singer's voice was a primal scream. Sarah found herself swept up in the energy of the music, dancing and singing along with the crowd. She had never felt so alive. After the set, Daniel found Sarah and pulled her into a hug. "So," he said, his voice hoarse from singing. "What do you think?" "I think you guys are amazing," Sarah said. "That was the best live music I've ever seen." Daniel beamed. "Thanks. That means a lot." They talked for hours that night, about their dreams, their fears, and their shared love of music and art. As the night wore on, Sarah realized that she was falling for Daniel. He was talented, passionate, and kind. He was everything she had ever wanted in a man. Chapter 3, Rooftop Dreams and Late-Night Pizza. Their relationship blossomed over the next few weeks. They spent their days exploring the city, visiting museums, wandering through Central Park, and eating street food. They spent their nights listening to music, watching movies, and talking for hours on the rooftops of their apartment buildings, under the watchful gaze of the moon. One warm summer evening, Daniel took Sarah to his favorite spot in the city, a hidden rooftop garden in the West Village. It was a secret oasis, filled with flowers, herbs, and vegetables. The view of the city skyline was breathtaking. They sat on a bench, holding hands, watching the sun set over the Hudson River. "I love this city," Daniel said, his voice soft. "But sometimes it feels like it's swallowing me whole." "I know what you mean," Sarah said. "It can be tough here. But it's also the most amazing place in the world." "It is," Daniel said. "And it's even more amazing with you." He turned to Sarah, his eyes filled with love. He leaned in and kissed her, a long, tender kiss that sealed their fate. From that moment on, they were inseparable. They shared everything: their dreams, their fears, their hopes, and their secrets. They supported each other through thick and thin, celebrating each other's successes, and comforting each other during setbacks. Sarah started incorporating Daniel's music into her paintings, creating vibrant, abstract canvases that captured the energy and passion of his performances. Daniel, in turn, wrote songs about Sarah, capturing her beauty, her spirit, and her infectious laugh. One night, after a late-night gig at a dive bar in the East Village, they found themselves craving pizza. They stumbled into a small, hole-in-the-wall pizzeria on St. Mark's Place, its neon sign flickering in the darkness. They ordered a large cheese pizza with pepperoni, and sat at a wobbly table in the back, devouring slice after slice. The pizza was greasy and delicious, the perfect end to a perfect night. "This is the best pizza in the city," Daniel said, his mouth full. "It is pretty good," Sarah said, laughing. "But I think it's even better, because I'm eating it with you." Daniel smiled, reached across the table, and took Sarah's hand. "I love you," he said. "I love you too," Sarah replied, her heart overflowing with happiness. Chapter 4. The gallery opening and record deal. Dreams. Life wasn't always easy. They both struggled to make ends meet, juggling odd jobs and chasing their dreams. But they had each other, and that's all that mattered. Sarah's big break came when she landed a gallery show in Soho. It was a dream come true, a chance to showcase her art to the world. Daniel was her biggest supporter, helping her prepare for the show, encouraging her to stay true to her vision, and reminding her that she was talented and worthy of success. The night of the gallery opening was magical. The gallery was packed with people, art critics, collectors, and friends. Sarah's paintings were a hit, and she sold several pieces. Daniel stood by her side, beaming with pride. "I knew you could do it," he said, hugging her tight. "I couldn't have done it without you," Sarah said. The gallery opening was a turning point in Sarah's career. She started getting more recognition for her work, and her paintings started selling for more money. Daniel's band was also starting to gain momentum. They landed a record deal with a small independent label, and they were preparing to record their first album. They celebrated their successes with a bottle of champagne on their rooftop, watching the city lights twinkle below. "We're going to make it," Daniel said, raising his glass. "We're going to make all our dreams come true." "We already have," Sarah said, clinking her glass against his. "We have each other." Chapter 5. Tensions and temptations. But as their careers took off, their relationship began to face new challenges. The pressures of success, the long hours, and the constant travel started to take their toll. Daniel's band was on the road a lot, touring the country, playing gigs in small towns and big cities. Sarah missed him terribly when he was gone, and she worried about him constantly. She also started to feel insecure about her own career. She wondered if she was good enough, if she was talented enough, if she was worthy of all the success she was achieving. One night, after a particularly difficult day in the studio, Sarah found herself at a party in Tribeca. She was surrounded by famous artists, wealthy collectors, and influential gallery owners. She felt out of place, intimidated, and alone. As she was standing by herself, nursing a glass of wine, a charming and successful art dealer approached her. He complimented her work, praised her talent, and offered her a chance to work with him. Sarah was flattered, but she also felt uneasy. She knew that this man was known for his predatory behavior, and she didn't want to get involved with him. She politely declined his offer, but he persisted. He told her that he could make her a star, that he could take her career to the next level. Sarah was tempted. She wondered if she was making a mistake by turning him down. Maybe this was the opportunity she had been waiting for. Just then, Daniel walked into the party. He had flown in from out of town to surprise her. Sarah's heart soared when she saw him. She ran to him and threw her arms around him. "I missed you so much," she said. "I missed you too," Daniel said, holding her tight. He glared at the art dealer, who quickly excused himself and walked away. Daniel took Sarah's hand and led her out of the party. They walked hand in hand through the streets of Tribeca, not saying a word. When they got back to their apartment, Sarah broke down in tears. "I'm so confused," she said. "I don't know what I want anymore." Daniel held her close and stroked her hair. "It's okay," he said. "We'll figure it out together." Chapter 6, The Storm Breaks. The strain continued. Daniel, caught up in the whirlwind of his band's growing fame, found himself changing. He was less present, more distant, and increasingly surrounded by temptations of his own. One night, after a particularly heated argument, Sarah packed a bag and left. She didn't know where she was going, but she knew she couldn't stay. She wandered the streets of the city, lost and alone. She ended up at the McDonald's on 6th Avenue, the place where she had first met Daniel. She sat in the same booth by the window, ordering a Big Mac, a large fries, and a vanilla milkshake. But this time, it didn't taste the same. She thought about Daniel, about their love, about their dreams. She wondered if they had made a mistake, if they were destined to be together. As she sat there, staring out the window, she saw Daniel walking down the street. He looked tired, haggard, and heartbroken. He saw her sitting in the booth and stopped. He hesitated for a moment, then walked inside. He sat down across from her, not saying a word. Sarah looked at him, her eyes filled with tears. "I'm sorry," she said. "I didn't mean to hurt you." "I'm sorry too," Daniel said. "I didn't mean to let things get so bad." They sat there in silence for a long time, just looking at each other. Finally, Daniel reached across the table and took Sarah's hand. "I love you," he said. "I don't want to lose you." "I love you too," Sarah said. "But I don't know if we can make this work." "We can try," Daniel said. "We can try to be better, to be more supportive, to be more understanding." Sarah looked into his eyes and saw the sincerity in his face. She knew that he was telling the truth. "Okay," she said. "Let's try." Chapter 7, A New Dawn. Same golden arches. They worked hard on their relationship, communicating more openly, supporting each other's dreams, and making time for each other. They went to therapy, they took vacations, and they rediscovered the joy of being together. Daniel eventually left his band, realizing that his music wasn't worth sacrificing his relationship. He started writing music for films and television, a more stable and fulfilling career. Sarah continued to paint, her work becoming more mature and introspective. She found new inspiration in her relationship with Daniel, creating paintings that celebrated their love and their life together. Years passed. They got married, bought a brownstone in Brooklyn, and started a family. They had 2 beautiful children, a boy and a girl. One day, they took their children to the McDonald's on 6th Avenue, the place where it all began. The McDonald's had changed over the years, becoming more modern and corporate. But the memories were still there. They sat in a booth, eating Big Macs, large fries, and vanilla milkshakes. Their children laughed and played, oblivious to the significance of the place. Sarah looked at Daniel, her heart filled with love and gratitude. "Remember when we first met here?" she said. Daniel smiled. "How could I forget? It was the best vanilla milkshake of my life." They held hands, watching their children play. They had come a long way since that summer afternoon in 1988. They had faced challenges, overcome obstacles, and weathered storms. But they had made it through, together. Their love story was a testament to the power of connection, the importance of communication, and the enduring magic of New York City. And it all started with a simple vanilla milkshake at the greatest McDonald's ever. The end. Thanks for reading, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this nostalgic trip back to a simpler time. If you did, please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories. Until next time, take care and keep those memories alive.